So now we can start with the fourth session of our conference, Life or Acharanam, the Indic Wisdom for Sustainable Lifestyle. So I think that after tea break, we are all back rejuvenated and all set for the fourth session. So the theme of this session is science, sustainability, and Indic wisdom. The session will explore the long and rich Indian science and its connection with ecology and sustainable lifestyle practices. This session will dwell upon the nature of Indian scientific tradition and how various sources from the mother nature are being used as electron reservoirs in developing 100% green processes which may be employed in a plethora of medical, agriculture, hygienic and technological applications. In addition, this session will discuss the solutions for major public health issues related to the environment, food and medicine. Furthermore, this session will survey the historical and socio-political dimensions of modern Western science and the role of deep science and high technology, particularly space technology, in formation of national power strategies. India has contributed in a seminal way. In addition, this session will also highlight the Indic view of evolution because India is one of the few civilizations that has offered least resistance to the science of evolution. With this background in mind, and as we are ready to begin with the fourth session, there are certain questions the session will address. The first question: what are the fundamental characteristics of Indian science and Indic wisdom? Second, how do new breakthroughs in modern technology influence our understanding of environmental ethics? Third, what is the scope of nanotechnology for developing green processes? And fourth, how Indian seers have contributed to our understanding of evolution in the context of human evolution. The key speakers for this session are Shri Aravindan Neelakandan ji, Dr. Chaitanya Giri ji, Dr. Kattesh V ji, Dr. Ajayan S ji, and Srimati Deepali Patwadkar ji. So now I take this opportunity to invite all the expert speakers on the dais. So our first speaker for this session is Dr. Kattesh, globally recognized as the father of green nanotechnology and in biomaterials. Professor Kattesh V. Katti uh, is MSc Education, PhD, DSc, FRSC, FNAI, Curator, School, University of Missouri, Columbia. Dr. Katti is a pioneer in the field of Nano Ayurvedic Medicine, a new medical modality which he discovered by the application of green nanotechnology to Ayurvedic holistic medicine. The US Patents and Trademarks Office has approved the use of Nano Ayurvedic medicine. In 2023, he was elected to the American Institute for Medical and Biological Engineering College of Fellows. United Nations has recognized Dr. Katti as the global expert in green nanotechnology and in nano radio pharmaceuticals. Professor Katti has won the International Heavy Medal Award, a global award for excellence in nuclear sciences and nuclear medicine, regarded as equivalent to Nobel Prize in nuclear sciences. With these words, now may I please invite Dr. Kattesh to take over, and we also have a presentation.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Ritul, for that kind introduction. I'm not sure if I should thank you for those tough questions you asked at the beginning of the session. Thank God you're not my teacher. Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this Augustus meeting, G20, C20, happening in India, happening here in your beautiful city of Ahmedabad. Most importantly, happening in this wonderful campus, the campus of the University of Indus University. I would like to thank, before I begin, Gajanand Dange, Dr. Gajanand Dange, to put together this terrific meeting, bringing all the subject experts from interdisciplinary areas Dr. Nagesh Bhandari, who extended me this invitation, as well as Dr. Ritu Bhandari, who worked with him in making this event possible. Of course, Radhika Bhandari, if she has forgotten another aeroplane, she's going to run out and put another aeroplane on the campus. Yeah. Okay. So that bell, if you want to save electricity, it's about sustainability. You may as well turn it off. Yeah. Yeah. So what I will discuss over the next 12 minutes plus 7 to 8 minutes borrowed from Ritul. Uh, Something about Indic wisdom. We have touch based in some lectures, but we are going to look at from a slightly different angle, more along the lines of medical sciences. Excuse me, because this angle is tough. So the outline of the lecture is shown here. What I'm going to do is take you through a journey, um, why and how the Ayurvedic medicine, which started through our Shastras, why it has not really reached the masses. I'm not talking about the West or the East here, the masses. Everybody should get the benefit of Ayurvedic medicine. What is missing? Rather than sit and criticize, this didn't happen, that didn't happen, let's collectively think about how we can make this happen. Why do we do that? We do that because we have this powerful hypothesis. Uh, the hypothesis is that there is something in it for everybody. If you're talking about Ayurvedic medicine, the depth is so huge. We simply haven't realized the potential of this Ayurvedic Shastric modality. What do we do for that? So that's what I'm going to focus upon. So, Indic wisdom, I would be preaching to the choir. It all started way back, through Atharvana Veda, thousands and thousands of years ago. Just to remind all of us, the term medicine to our planet was given by Ayurvedic medicine. It was given, it was provided through the Shastric knowledge. But as we sit here and deliberate today, Ayurvedic medicine, as I pointed out yesterday, has reached less than 1% of the global population. 99% of all medicines, including diseases treated right at this point of time in various hospitals in India, including here in Ahmedabad, they all use medicines discovered in the West. Okay, there is nothing wrong. But there is something wrong there in the context that patients should get the opportunity to have additional modalities. Why? A patient suffering from a debilitating disease, he or she, needs more possibilities for life survival. Right now, we are choosing products from this or that, all originated from the allopathic medicine. We haven't really explored, we haven't really brought the wealth of medical knowledge that we have, our ancestors have left with us. How do we do that? That's an important question for all of us. Very difficult to read, I understand. It basically shows the history of medicine, the genesis of medicine. Different civilizations have tried to do a lot of different things, but no civilization, in my opinion, would come anywhere close to the depth of knowledge that Ayurveda has brought to this planet. There is a broken bridge here. This is what we are trying to connect that gap. That gap, connecting that gap is important, all in the quest to save human lives. Let's remember what happened last 3 years. We had the COVID pandemic. We had very limited possibilities of treatment. At the end of all of it, we saw millions of people die. Think about, I'm not here to criticize any medication, any modality. I'm here to see how different modalities can coexist to help humanity. So that bridge is broken because early part of the 19th century, chemical-based approaches, what we call today as Ayurvedic medicine, they started receiving investments. Throughout the 20th century into the 21st century, investments 99.9% of investments have flown into making Ayurvedic medicine what it is today. So it is not the fault of uh, Ayurvedic medicine. The investments which went into allopathic medicine allowed them to test, allowed them to fail number of times, and then the system has become reasonably perfect. That's why we use them. That's why when you go to a doctor, they prescribe. If you have urinary tract infection, there is an antibiotic. If there is a lung cancer, there is a treatment modality. If there is a glioblastoma, there is an allopathic medicine. What does it take for our doctors globally, to start prescribing Ayurvedic medicine? Why is it important? We need to uh, fill that gap. We need to construct that broken bridge, make it a smooth pathway so that all human beings can coexist happily. Because then they will have wealth of antibiotics, anti-cancer agents, agents that can treat COVID available through the Ayurvedic modality. We don't have them yet. So there are approaches we can address that. So I would be preaching to the choir in front of these high dignitaries who have read so well in Shastra and so forth. This is what Sushruta mentions. Sushruta used, along with his colleagues, minerals, metals, along with herbal cocktail. What is not mentioned by Sushruta or anybody, it may be there, but we haven't uncovered them yet. What is that constitution? When you mix certain minerals, when you mix certain metallic precursors with herbal cocktail from clove or cardamom or mango or gooseberry or kadamba, a tree so dear to the heart of Lord Krishna. So what is the chemical constitution? So you might tell, why do we care? If it treats the disease, yeah, why should we even worry about it? Yeah, we need to worry about it. If you want to reproduce that, if you want to scale it up, if you want to have a reproducible medical result, we need to scale them up. We need to reproduce the results. We need to provide a dose. We need to understand the mechanism. That is something missing from Ayurveda. No blames. Why is it missing? Those billions and billions of dollars which went into allopathic medicine modality, those dollars did not flow into making Ayurvedic medicine modality to where it should be. So, if you ask me, is it possible? Very much possible. So I'm going to describe a short story, how we have taken from where Ayurveda has been 5,000 years ago to a point that we can really believe in Ayurvedic medicine, define the dose, understand the mechanism, actually treat human cancer patients. It is very much possible. So these are the pillars of medicine. We need to, oh, sorry, I went back. Yeah. How do we do it? We do it through a reverse engineering pathway. There is so much known in Ayurvedic medicine. We don't need to reinvent. It's all known. But how do we borrow the principles of Ayurvedic medicine, apply modern biological, modern chemical, modern physical, modern mathematical concepts, and distill out something that is required for treating human patients, distill out something that is required to making Ayurvedic medicine scientifically rigorous, universally acceptable. Doctors sitting in the United States one day, hopefully sooner, should be able to prescribe a particular Ayurvedic medicine because he or she would believe this medication would treat a particular disease as well as the allopathic medicine, perhaps in many instances significantly better. That's the state we all want to go. The genesis of our approach is shown on this slide. We discovered, I hate to use the word discover because it's a, reinventing, I should say. We reinvented uh, what existed in the bottles, in the vessels of Sushruta. Okay, so that's why I use the word decoding what Sushruta was talking about. He was already talking about medicine at the atomic level. I'm sure our gurus here sitting, Anu is well defined in Shastras. We need to learn a lot from you. That's why I said we all need to be collaborating with you. Likewise, you also might consider collaborating with us. Yeah. So we, what I have shown here is really happening. All these plants defined in Ayurveda, cloves, cardamom, gooseberry, mango leaves, name it. Every single one of them. Did you ever think that they're tanks with lots of electrons? They're electron reservoirs. We never conceived Ayurveda to be a subject matter where we can extract electrons. And after all, what is an electron? It is a source of energy. And in medical production, medical synthesis, we use different chemicals that are rich in electrons. You have two ways of doing it. Either choose the most toxic way or choose a highly non-toxic and a sustainable way, which is one of the thematic matters of this conference. So we produce basically these nano medicine products by simply mixing herbal cocktails with the metallic precursors as shown here, and we produce varieties of different types of nanoparticles. I'm introducing a new word. Nanoparticle, if you want a physical definition, touch your hair without disturbing your hairstyle, divide the width of your hair by 100,000. That is the size of a nanoparticle, which means Sushruta was already approaching at the atomic level. The knowledge of atomic physics, atomic chemistry during the prehistoric times, during the Vedic times was profound. No wonder they were able to put the satellites into the orbit and so forth. But all that script is not there. It is our job to uncover that, to decode that. And one aspect of the decoding I have shown here. Then we wanted to systematize that, scale up that, so that products, yeah. This was the introduction. Now the lecture will start. Yeah. So what you see here is a scale up. Yeah, a lot of scientists, all of you know, we get excited with the result. At the end of the day, the public hardly gets anything. What happened to my tax dollars or tax rupees? Uh, you know, publications, patents, awards will not treat human patients. What would treat human patients are the products. So we need to keep our focus on how to alleviate pain and suffering of human beings, regardless of the modality. But the focus is Ayurvedic modality here. So we have scaled it up, uh, licensed to companies. Why? We talked about economic viability. We talked about monetization. It takes enormous amount of investment to take any molecule, including Ayurvedic molecules, from bench to bed. Somebody has to pay money. So investors will come forward if you have a patent and then license that patent to investors, get the money from them, then make Ayurvedic medicine equally effective, perhaps even more effective than allopathic medicines. So that's why I always talk about in Ayurveda through Shastra, perhaps I know that the Pandits, they don't want to mix Shastra with economic viability and all that, but all of that is required to take us collectively from where we are to the finish line. So we can do that in a very justifiable way, in a very legal way. So one example I'll be giving throughout this lecture. This process, by the way, sustainable lifestyle. What is that? There's numerous definitions. In my opinion, one important definition that's important for all of us, we want to live on a planet with clean water, clean air, contributing minimally to global warming, perhaps contributing zero or even negative to global warming. All of that is happening when you formulate Ayurvedic medications. We have never taken advantage of that. So I'm showing one example here. This process, which gave us this particular gold nanoparticles with chemicals that are there on mango in mango peel. The production process is net carbon negative. It is negative. It's not even zero. The whole world is trying to approach zero carbon emission. This Ayurvedic process actually helps the planet, produces drugs to treat human patients. And why is this so important? I'll tell you what pharmaceutical companies which are producing allopathic medicine, how much carbon footprint they are contributing to this planet. These are the examples of different companies all across the world. A single allopathic drug will raise the global temperature. We're talking about thousands of different drugs. No wonder our ocean levels are rising, global temperatures are rising, whereas the Ayurvedic approach, if this is globalized, we have a great opportunity to bring down those temperatures while producing life-saving products. I'll be skipping a few slides because I put some of those slides for the next session. I'm going to give another example that is dear to all our hearts. Kadamba tree. How many of you have not heard Kadamba tree? Everybody knows Kadamba tree because all of us pray Lord Krishna for, for everything, including the success of this function. So the Kadamba tree, yeah, I didn't realize that I had the microphone. I don't need to be standing that close. The Kadamba tree, the leaves, they are rich in electrons. Is that audible or you want me to be there? Okay. Then we went to Kadamba tree because this is kind of a, a Hitchcock movie that a murder has occurred, then you go about solving the murder mystery. So Shushruta already had produced numerous cocktails of medications. I bet he would have used Kadamba tree. So we went to Kadamba tree, extracted the leaves, and then showed to the world and to ourselves that we can create nano medicine, nano Ayurvedic medicine drugs using Kadamba tree. If you're wondering how a nanoparticle would look like, that is shown here. These are nanoparticles. Each that dark dot, it represents a cluster of gold atoms. So again, a connection that what we are doing in the 21st century at the atomic level was already known in the during the prehistoric Vedic times. This is how an atom looks like. Why do we need these? Why did they mix those cocktails with minerals or gold precursors? They knew something profound. They knew that as the sizes of pharmaceuticals decrease, the efficacy would go up. But if you bought an Ayurvedic product right now from any store, analyze the content of nanoparticles, it is less than 1 or 2%. You need to get to 60, 70, perhaps even 90, 99%. We are not there yet. This approach produces Ayurvedic drugs at the atomic scale to produce drugs at the atomic scale in close to 100% purity. That's not there yet. So this is the approach we have discovered that we can get there. Why is it important? I'm showing real live examples. If the sizes of pharmaceuticals decreases, they not only attack the tumor cells, they should, but it attacks the tumor machinery. All of you have heard a cancer patient going through treatment, after a year, they show good signs of improvement. The doctor will declare that this cancer patient is fully treated. 5 years down the road, a vast majority of those patients would have to go back to the doctor because the cancer which would have started from the liver would migrate to the bone or to the brain or to the breast, different parts of the body. Why? Modern drugs, allopathic drugs, a vast majority of them, they do not destroy the cancer cell machinery. Whereas the nano Ayurvedic medicine drugs have this tremendous capability to go and really destroy the machinery. It's just like, you need to take the engine of the car out in order to completely destroy it and stop it. That's what these Ayurvedic medicine drugs do. As you are seeing here, all around the tumor cells here, you have the gold nanoparticles encapsulated with nano Ayurvedic medicine drugs. They completely destroy the tumor. Tumors start with big lumps of tissue. After treatment, the tumor size keeps going down. Many examples. The take home story is Ayurvedic medicine knew something that we have failed to recognize. And through this approach, we have seen what our Shastra told us. You need to get these medications to the atomic level. And that's what we have been able to do by decoding what Sushruta may have thought. This is for, if you ask me what is the type of cancer, all different cancers, prostate cancer, pancreatic cancer, breast cancer, we have examples for almost everything. This is intervention of Nano Ayurvedic medicine. We coined the terminology Nano Ayurvedic medicine because we are using tools of nanotechnology to make Ayurvedic medicine not only more effective, we are using tools of nanotechnology to really understand Ayurvedic medicine at the atomic level. More examples. So this is an example of a nano Ayurvedic medicine where a human patient with multiple myeloma was treated. I'm just going to run through examples. This is this is for prostate cancer. Same result. Pre-treatment, very large mass of the tumor. After using nano Ayurvedic medicine, you can see complete destruction of the tumor. Breast cancer, same story. There's an example of groups of triple negative breast cancer patients. If you, I know majority of you are not in the medical field. Those of you who are in the medical field, you all recognize there are no treatments for triple negative breast cancers. The quality of life is really horrible. And a vast majority of patients, unfortunately, would die. So, nano Ayurvedic medicine drugs, their effect was such that they are significantly superior than chemotherapy. If a patient is administered with chemotherapy, the actually tumor burden keeps increasing. It enhances the cancer. Whereas the nano Ayurvedic medicine completely shuts off the growth of the tumor. Patients led an almost normal life. This is what happens with the chemotherapy. The disease, the residues of the drugs remain in the body and the disease comes back. If you used nano Ayurvedic medicine, the disease can be completely treated. Another example, I can't write the name here, a celebrity from India was treated with a stage 4 ovarian cancer. Pre-treatment, you can see lots of tumors. Post-treatment, there is no detectable tumor cancer in the body. 80% of the global population, they would love to use herbal medicine. This is WHO's forecast. Nobody wants to use chemical-based medicine. Chemicals are toxic. Unfortunately, we cannot give herbal medicine right now to those 80% of the population because we don't have those tools. We have started this journey and this journey is looking very bright for all of us. So the nano Ayurvedic medicine, which uses Ayurvedic Shastra principles, has a tremendous future for everybody. And I'm just going to close down the lecture after a few slides. I'm not done yet. COVID-19, which broke out throughout the world. It didn't distinguish between income groups. It didn't distinguish between boundaries between nations. It affected everybody. We all took vaccines. I took vaccines. All of you have taken vaccines. But we had this very powerful Ayurvedic medicine. We could not go out and advertise. If you ask me why, we live in a capitalistic world. There are certain restrictions that were put in place on all of us, everybody. Yeah, it happens globally. I'm not trying to criticize. But the time has come for us to look at the power of nano Ayurvedic medicine for treating infections. Here are examples. If somebody has a Candida albicans infection, look at the amount of nano Ayurvedic medicine that is required to completely destroy that bacteria. These are silver-based products. The amount, if you look at in microgram per ml, it's almost like an impurity of a metal in water. It doesn't take a whole lot to treat these diseases. That's for Candida bacteria, Staphylococcus, one of the deadliest bacteria. These are the drug-resistant bacteria. If somebody has an infection starting with staph, unfortunately, our allopathic antibiotics do not work. These are drug-resistant bacteria. Ayurvedic medicine has the answer for that. So I'm going to show you more examples of that. This particular bacteria, same problem. This is a pretty deadly bacteria, leads to varieties of infections. Again, nano Ayurvedic medicine, which is of Indic origin, which has the Indic philosophy built into it, has an answer for that. Ecoli, all of you have heard about that, very deadly, same thing, highly effective. If you use Nano Ayurvedic medicine approach, you can completely neutralize this bacteria. And the last one, Nano Ayurvedic medicine treatment for COVID, highly effective. The silver nanoparticles will go and bind the spike proteins on the virus. Once they bind, the spike protein can never enter the healthy cell. You might ask me, this picture looks great, graphic looks great. Have you tested on humans? Yes, we have tested on hundreds of thousands of human patients. Yeah, yeah. Typically, patients, when they showed a positive result for COVID, they were administered with these nano Ayurvedic medicine drugs. 24 to 48 hours, every single one of those patients showed negative. Yeah. So that's the power of Nano Ayurvedic medicine. So if you ask me why this whole journey was cut off, there's only one reason. Investment right from the early part of the 19th century did not go into Ayurvedic medicine. A major recommendation for the G20 is that we need to invest. It's not just the government. There has to be a public-private partnership. Why? Because there is something in it for all of us. We all want to lead a normal life. We all want to lead a high quality life. I didn't describe how we use nano Ayurvedic modalities for purifying water, for elongating the lifespan of milk, for elongating the lifespan of foods, for food security. We can use nano Ayurvedic approach for all of those applications. So investment is part one. We need to start educating our own children right from elementary school on the power of Ayurvedic medicine. We need to tell them Ayurvedic medicine will not help us unless we inject science into it, unless we inject engineering into it, unless we understand the mathematical component of Ayurvedic medicine. So everybody is important. In this approach, collaboration is the key. We need chemists, physicists, biologists, Shastra Pandits. Everybody has to play a role here. This is a highly interdisciplinary approach. I have shown in our own small group what we are able to do. If we can do in our small pockets, pan India, it can elevate the field of medicine to levels I can guarantee you that we haven't seen that yet. So I have described the power of nano Ayurvedic medicine for treating COVID. You might be wondering, most of the allopathic drugs are toxic. Ayurvedic medicines are toxic. There are many celebrities who took Swarna Bhasma for elongation of lives. We also know that a vast majority of them unfortunately died because of gold toxicosis. They were taking Swarna Bhasma. The gold went and deposited in the kidney. So now is the question, what happens if we consumed nano Ayurvedic drugs? They are at the atomic level. Here are the results. Nano Ayurvedic drugs, they do not go to the kidney. The percentage of the drug going to the kidney is 0. So this is where you should be thinking, nano Ayurvedic drugs are way superior, both in terms of efficacy as well as in terms of collateral toxic effects. They do not create collateral toxic effects if they are properly developed. That's the real power, in my opinion, of nano medicine drugs. This is just a short history. There are lots of nanotechnology discoveries going on throughout the world, right from 1857. And we have been fortunate through our approach. We have applied nanotechnology through the green nanotechnology process in making nano Ayurvedic medicine more effective. This is a proud moment for all of us. It is not that we have discovered. What did John F. Kennedy say? If you're standing on the shore side, if there is a larger tide, that tide will lift all boats up. That tide will not look at whether it is a Kattesh's boat or Dr. Bhandari's boat. That tide will lift everybody up. That's what is happening here. We have been able to get the first ever global patent on nano Ayurvedic medicine through the United States Patent Office. Yeah, it took 5,000 years from Shushruta's times until now, it has taken a lot of time. But I'm trying to tell all of you, it is doable. Even in the United States Patent Office, they were willing to accept our terminology of Nano Ayurvedic medicine. So this is the first ever global patent. I want many Ayurvedic doctors all across India to really start thinking about injecting science into their profession. Then we'll have not one patent. In 5 years, we have 50,000 patents. All of them are important in taking these drugs at the grassroots level to everybody. I think we have built this bridge through this approach, this bridge that connects the Western medicine to Eastern medicine, and the pathway that is there on this bridge will help all patients, regardless of whether they are in the US or Europe or India or any other country. This is for the people. And the Nano Ayurvedic medicine is even more significant. It goes beyond people. It really connects the global population with the power or the wisdom of our Shastras. So there is something very profound about it. Yeah, these are some of the conclusions. If you're wondering if we have products beyond cancer, yes, Nano Ayurvedic medicine treats cancer, treats deadly diseases, arthritis, diabetes, many formulations we have developed. And Kadamba is an institution in India which is promoting this. I want many other institutions to come forward, not just for production, but for education. So on the recommendations, we need to get into the educational system. We need to bring Shastric approaches to education. As I said, right from elementary school, we need to have curricula describing the power of Shastras, not just by chanting mantras. We have done that. We have done that for thousands of years. We need to tell our children, Shastras have something very applied in terms of developing new engineering products, medical products. That's why the education needs to start from the primary school going all the way up into colleges. Second recommendation, this modality, as you have seen, Ayurvedic modality, its potential can only be realized if we collectively invested into this modality on par with the allopathic modality. Why did the allopathic modality become so popular? It has taken 150 plus years. It has taken billions and billions of dollars of investment. The question is, you might say, we don't have that level of investing power. That is fine. Whatever we can invest, we need to make strategic investments. Bring the public-private partnership. The private investors have something big here. They can see return on their investments. Once they see taste of the return on investments, they will come back and reinvest. How long they need to invest? Let's ask the Pandits here. The power and the depth of Shastra is so huge, it can unravel the field of medicine forever. That's the power of Ayurvedic medicine. And those are some of the recommendations. I want to thank the group. I'm just a spokesperson here. The brains behind this are numerous people, or 50 past students. It has taken 30 plus years of both investment of time and money. And I want to thank my wife. She's not speaking here. We all say that that there's a woman behind man's success. That's not true. In my case, she's in front of me all the time. Yeah, she has contributed immensely to all the success what we have achieved. Yeah, and lots of agencies who have funded, international agencies. I go to Brazil, I go to France, travel member of the United Nations. Now they're telling me that Ayurvedic medicine is a way to go. So I tell them that's exactly the case. Yeah, with that, I would like to thank all of you. I know I took the liberty to speak more than my allotted time, but I wanted to tell this story. There is something in it for all of us. That was the reason why I took extra time. Uh, I think we can discuss further during the question answer time. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Katti. Now we move on to the next speaker, Srimati Deepali Patwadkar ji. Deepali ji is a writer, columnist, illustration artist with 2 decades of experience in the software industry. She hails from the historic city of Pune, which is the epicenter or the nucleus of the Maratha legacy. She's the founder of kalapushpa.com. Her published books include Illustrated Jnaneshwari Karma Yog, Aryabhat, Life and Works for Children, and Mindful Coloring Books for Indian Folk Art. With these words, I invite you, ma'am.
Humbly, I bring few grains of sand to this C20 sustainable lifestyle Setu, and I've worked in the IT industry for about 20 years. I was also involved in the CSR team during that time. I have been working with NGO called Seva Sahyog for more than 12 years now, and I also did my Indology, and that was when I came across all our Indian scriptures, and then putting all these three together, like philanthropy has been spoken about in all these three areas. So I just put together all that I have learned, and I'm going to share this with you. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the Indian social science and how it can be used for sustainable lifestyle. So for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Stern's ABC model. So Stern has defined this model as A is attitude, which is internal factors, values, ethics, and everything inside. And B is the behavior. The behavior is the sustainable behavior. And he says that, like, for example, suppose we want somebody to recycle waste. So that person should have that value within him. He should have that ethics within him that he wants to, that makes him actually go and recycle waste. But for this, Stern says that it is not just the attitude which is important, but what is also required is context. And context is the external factors. So these external factors actually nurture a sustainable lifestyle behavior. So this context, it could be like, having availability of recycling centers, so that a person with less efforts, with probably getting some rewards also for recycling waste, he will bring that behavior in his life. So the attitude and context, these two things are something which are invisible. The only visible part is behavior, and that behavior is acharan. That is what we are talking about here today. So we want to have acharan which is sustainable lifestyle. And for this acharan, we have so much Indian science, we have so much Indic wisdom, which is already over there. So this wisdom is available to us in philosophies, in stories, in beliefs, in traditions, in festivals, in scriptures, in prayers, in subhashita. So many. Yesterday, even we spoke about the etymology of different words, and just knowing the meaning of some words, it is going to create our vritti. So, attitude is the vritti, acharan is the behavior, and for this, we need a parivesh, we need a nurturing environment. So, what is it which is going to join the theory and practice? Theory is the vritti, and practice is acharan. What is it that is going to join these two and ensure that we can have a sustainable lifestyle? Like, everybody is following a sustainable lifestyle. So, we come up with recommendations. Most of the recommendations are like, there should be some infrastructural investments, there should be infrastructural facilities, there should be economical solutions. These are the common solutions. What I'm going to speak about today is how we can empower the Indic institutions that are building the vritti, so that the acharan becomes more and more common. So let's take, for example, some of these vritti building institutions, vritti building social sciences, which are there in the Indic wisdom. So the first one that is going to build the vritti is at the individual level. So we will go from vyashti to samashti. And for an individual, the vritti building mantra is yama and niyama. So, yama, as we know, is ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, aparigraha. And niyama is shauch, santosh, tapasvadhyay, and Ishwar Pranidhan. So these are kind of like, we can say 5 do's and 5 don'ts. And this is actually the policy. At a policy level, ahimsa. But when I'm going to apply ahimsa to food, I will say I will eat only that which is vegetarian. And automatically we find that, like, vegetarian food is having a smaller carbon footprint, a smaller water footprint. So it automatically becomes sustainable. Or if we are going to apply this principle or this policy of ahimsa to clothing, then we will automatically choose clothing which is not going to be like, polythene. So like, polythene or plastic clothing, which with every washing, plastic goes into water, and then it goes into sea, it goes into our food in the end. So if we choose ahimsa as a policy, so this is a person who chooses ahimsa as a policy, this will affect every facet of lifestyle, be it clothing, be it food, be it housing, like that. And this will apply to everything. So for example, Satya. If somebody is having a policy, Satya, I will say, I want to know what is the eco cost before buying some product. What is the cost of that? What is the life cost of that particular product? What is the cost of that product after life? How it is going to decay? Is it going to decay fast? And I will choose what I'm going to buy based on that Satya. Aparigraha is a minimalistic lifestyle. Shaucha is, cleanliness in and out. So somebody with having a policy or a drushti, a vision of shauch, will say, I will do waste management at source, at home, things like that. So this vritti is already there. These sciences have already been defined for us, not only by Maharshi Patanjali, but we also have Mahavir Jain speaking about this as Pancha Mahavrata. We have Gautam Buddha speaking about this as Panchashil. So everybody is telling us that this is there in place, we don't need to invent it. Acharan, we know so many people have been already studying and preaching about how a sustainable lifestyle should be. So these two corners of a triangle are already known. What is it in the environment that we can do to empower our vritti, our vritti building sciences? So the parivesh, what I bring as a recommendation is, already a great step has been taken up by celebrating Yoga Divas. Going further, we need to give emphasis on yama and niyama as well. It should go beyond yogasana and pranayam and bring yama niyama. So every yoga class, it should have, 5 minutes dedicated to discussion of all these different yama niyama and how we can, like, bring them into practice. This is at the level of individual. At the level of family, we have the concept of pancharuna. We carry so much runa on ourselves from so many uh, long Guru Shishya Parampara from the Devatas. Devatas are basically Prithvi, Agni, Vayu, Nadi, Akash, Surya, Chandra, trees, Aranya. These are our Devatas. So we have, like, we carry run of them. So this is our vritti. अपनी वृत्ति है कि हम हम पे इनका ऋण है और ये ऋणानुबंध है. ये ऐसे नहीं है कि we will just pay off the debt. It's not a debt. It is a relation. जैसे अभी पहले किसी ने कहा था कि relation is necessary with the environment around us. So this is the vritti. And from this vritti comes the acharan of Pancha Mahayajna. Daily you learn something, teach something. You do Deva Yajna, Pitru Yajna, Manusha Yajna, Bhuta Yajna. Take care of animals around you. As Madam said yesterday, she takes care of plants and animals around her house, and it is not for their welfare but for her own welfare. So this is how it comes into acharan. And yesterday, Ranganathan sir also spoke about Tamil mein, how the mother feeds a child, saying, like, the same thing in Marathi we do it, sir. We say, the mother will say, ye kaucha ghas, ha chiucha ghas, ha balacha ghas. And I actually used to do that with my daughter. We used to sit in the gallery, and my daughter, I'm feeding my daughter, and a crow and sparrows were used to come and eat with my daughter. It was such a wonderful ritual we used to have. So this is already there, and it is basically this teaching, this vritti building thing. It has been so simplified बच्चे को, जो बच्चा बोल भी नहीं सकता, उस बच्चे के लिए भी it has been simplified. So the first thing, the parivesh recommendation is we must talk in our mother tongue. We must talk in our mother tongue with our children. The first thing we should do. Another thing is we should bring in this element of gratitude in our lives. There is already one gratitude day, World Gratitude Day, 21st September, and it was initiated by Sri Chinmay sometime in 1960s, 1970s. Today, this World Gratitude Day, it has reduced to, like, writing thank you notes. We need to reclaim this day. We need to reclaim this day as a nation, and we say, we redefine this, that this World Gratitude Day is Pancharuna Divas. This is the day when we offer our thanks, we remember and remind ourselves that daily we have to do these 5 replenishments. Everything that we have taken, we need to keep giving back. So this is another recommendation for our nation as such. At a community level, we have so many vritti building mantra and subhashita, right from Rigved में सामंजस्य सूक्त है, कहते हैं कि together we will come together with a common goal, common mind, and together हम पराक्रम करेंगे. We will सहवीर्यम करवावहै, we will, हम साथ में मिलके पराक्रम करेंगे. क्या पराक्रम करेंगे? We will build wells, we will build lakes, we will plant trees, we will have devrais, we will protect them. This is what we will do. ये सब लिखा हुआ है. What we need to do is we need to retell the stories. We need to revive our storytelling traditions. We need to regenerate all those storytelling arts which are already present in our community. At the level of society, जैसे सतीश सर ने भी अभी कहा था कि we have chaturashram and purushartha. So these are guiding us that, upabhog is not the only goal of life, but we have abhyudaya and nishreyas, both of them going hand in hand. And even upabhog, it is restricted to one phase of life during gruhasthashram. Otherwise, we live only on the basic necessities. That is all what is done in the rest 3 stages of life. So all of this, we have it in our systems, in our institutions, and it can be brought out in Acharan, even in today's time. So the Parivesh. So the Parivesh over here is like, we need to relearn the duties of each ashram, because it is duties based, not rights based. We need to learn the duties and the goals of Purushartha. Going ahead to the world level, we speak about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. This is a greater family. And in this greater family, we can become great only if we are great in our own families. So, humko apni family, we have to make it strong. And we see, like, in all these TV series and everywhere, it is like horrible families they show. We need to वो कहीं भी हमको दिखाई नहीं देगा. So we really need to work on our own families first. If I am a good family member, I am good at building happy family at my home, I will become a good family member of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So this is something that we need to do. Lastly, we don't stop at Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We go beyond that. Jnaneshwar says, "He Vishwachi माझे घर, ऐसी मती जयाची स्थिर, किंबहुना चराचर स्वयेची झाला." This is Advaita philosophy, and that is our goal. We want to reach over there, but to reach over there, there are so many steps, and we will follow those steps. Lastly, I will close by saying this, that every person, Acharan is copying the elders. Gita says, Yad yad acharati sreshtha, lokastad anuvartate. So the sreshtha in every field, they have to do this acharan of Indic traditions. They should follow vegetarian days. They should follow vegetarian months. They should do, those regular fasting, annadan, celebrate festivals, go to temples. They should do all of this. When the Sreshta do this, common people will also automatically follow them. And why Sreshta people? Even an 8-year-old is considered as, my role model, and the sibling will follow that 8-year-old. So it is the responsibility of each one of us. So this is a recommendation that each one of us, we should follow these Indic traditions. To close, I will just put these recommendations once more. Yoga Divas, we need to give emphasis on Yama Niyama. We need to re-own the World Gratitude Day and say that this Divas is remembering the Pancharuna we all carry. The third one is build happy families. We will automatically start walking towards Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, revive storytelling arts throughout India, and lastly, speak our own mother tongue, talk to children in mother tongue, and we should have, like, electives in schools and colleges so that children can learn all of these Indic traditions, Indic social sciences, and bring that into Acharan. I will lastly quote Gondavlekar Maharaj. He used to say that, आपके पास वेद है, you have learned so many things, there are so many things inside you. That is not sufficient. आपके आचरण में आना चाहिए. So, with this, I close, and I hope and pray that we are able to bring our sciences into Acharan. Thank you.
Speaker is Dr. Chaitanya Giri, who is an Associate Professor, Environmental Sciences at Flame University. He is the Science Diplomacy Consultant, Research and Information System for Development Countries MEA think tank. He has worked on the European Space Agency's Rosetta mission that landed on a comet. He also received the prestigious 2014 Dieter Rampacker Prize from the Max Planck Society, Germany. So there is a lot more to tell about him, but he was the person, he has requested me to cut short his bio so that he gets more time. So without wasting time, I'll just invite him.
मंच पर उपस्थित महानुभाव, all the greats over here, शिक्षकगण, विद्यार्थीगण, many thank you for you all for inviting me over here. I've been associated with the Civil 20 since the inception meeting that happened in Pune in October last year. So I've seen the entire rise of all the engagement groups that are working hand in hand towards a common cause of creating the New Delhi Declaration, which will happen at the the G20 summit in September. When Professor Sharma invited me for this particular event, the idea behind it was make it something that we can adopt on a daily basis. So many a times, a lot of policies are set on a global level or a national level or a regional level, but something that is a bit more atomic, something that can be practiced in our everyday lives, yet make a profound global impact, is something that we needed over here in the C20 grouping. And when I was placed in this particular session, it made me thinking what exact recommendation should I offer. I have nothing much to offer, but by asking you all a simple question, let's slightly raise our hands and do a bit more exercise. Answer my question. How long does a mobile phone last with you? How many years do you use a certain mobile phone that you have in your hand? 3 years? Five 5 years? Anyone over there? Over there? Three? Three? On an average, three? Okay. So here in India, we are taking pride that we will be manufacturing n number of mobile phones a year. We want to become an electronic manufacturing hub. All good in that. We are trying to achieve certain short-term goals. And when I say short-term, we are talking about goals that can be achieved in a span of around 20, 25, 30 years or so. But when we are sitting here speaking about Indic wisdom, about sustainability, about lifestyle, we are actually thinking on a time span of around 100 plus years. So on a civilizational scale, the civilizational scale and a national scale are two different things. So whatever we discuss here is on a civilizational scale. And what matters at a civilizational scale is the overall well-being, not just of us, but of the entire planet. So when the G20 summit or the G20 preparations began in December, when the baton was passed on by Indonesia to India, the Ministry of External Affairs conducted a program which was called as the Voice of the Global South Summit. What we are trying to do is we are trying to be at the interface between the global north and the global south. Another definition, Janiji. Uh, uh, but what we are trying to do is, in these past 75 years, whatever we've achieved, whatever practices we have adopted, indigenous practices, something that the West hasn't taught us, we are trying to now share it with many countries in Latin America, or shall I say Latinized America, or Africa, or in the Oceania, in the other parts of Jambu Dweep, Asia. So what do we share with them? We share with them uh, what Madam just mentioned: uh, reuse, recycle, control your temptation to use more gadgets, so on and so forth. Electronic manufacturing is a major deal for us. We are discussing it in other engagement groups like B20 or in Science 20 or and so on and so forth. But when it comes to C20, and if there is any recommendation that I can straight away give, make sure that you are using your mobile phone at least for 5 years. Why do I say that? See, the share of the global population which currently uses mobile phone is 68%, and it will only grow because every country or every economic system is wanting to increase something known as digital penetration. And the means of digital penetration is not a computer anymore, but it's a mobile phone. So we are on an upward march. 68% से ये आगे ही बढ़ने वाला है. भारत में हर 100 व्यक्तियों में 82 व्यक्तियों के पास मोबाइल फोन है. ये भी आंकड़ा बढ़ने वाला है बिकॉज वी वांट टू इंक्रीज आवर डिजिटल पेनिट्रेशन, डिजिटल इंडिया का जो गोल है. अगर हाईएस्ट नंबर देखा जाए किसी भी देश का या फिर सब नेशनल रीजन का, तो मकाओ विच इज अ सेमी ऑटोनॉमस रीजन ऑफ चाइना, उनके हर 100 लोगों में 400 लोगों के पास मोबाइल फोन है और 400 मोबाइल फोन है. और अगर चाइना की बात करें तो 100 लोगों में 122 मोबाइल फोन है. सो हर एक के पास 2-2, 3-3 मोबाइल फोन है. हमें आदत डाल दी गई है कि इसको बार बार बदला जाए, नया मॉडल आते ही हम नया खरीदें. तो ये हमें प्रैक्टिस बदलनी है. इसके कई सारे उपाय हैं. ये सारे उपाय आपको इंटरनेट पे आसानी से मिल जाएंगे, लेकिन ये आचरण में लाना है. वो इसलिए लाना है क्योंकि 1 टन लिथियम जो आपकी बैटरी में जाता है मोबाइल फोन की, उसको निकालने के लिए वी यूज नियरली 500,000 गैलन्स ऑफ वाटर फॉर 1 टन ऑफ लिथियम. ओके, मोबाइल फोन इज नॉट द ओनली एप्लीकेशन ऑफ लिथियम. व्हाट एल्स? इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स. तो उसके लिए साइंटिफिक रिसर्च चल रहा है. वी आर नाउ ट्राइंग टू फाइंड ऑल्टरनेटिव्स टू लिथियम. तो कोई सोडियम आयन बैटरी की बात कर रहा है, कोई पोटेशियम आयन बैटरी की बात कर रहा है, उसके ऊपर काम चल रहा है. बट टिल द टाइम इट रीचेस अ स्टेज वेयर इट बिकम्स कमर्शियली रेडी, it acquires a high TRL level, technology readiness level or commercial readiness level, तब तक we'll have to have sustainable use. अब क्यों करना है? मैंने बात शुरू की थी ग्लोबल साउथ से. उसका कारण ये है कि बहुत ज्यादा लिथियम जो है वो चीन से आता है. चीन में मानव अधिकारों का हनन होते हुए ये सारे मिनरल्स का एक्सट्रैक्शन हो रहा है. तो वो रोकना है, वहाँ पे कोई तो भी हमें दबाव डालना है. सेकेंडली, द अदर बिग सोर्स ऑफ लिथियम इज द लिथियम ट्राइंगल इन साउथ अमेरिका, बोलीविया, अर्जेंटीना, चिले. वहाँ से लिथियम आते आते यू आर क्रॉसिंग द एंटायर अटलांटिक, यू आर कमिंग डाउन टू केप ऑफ गुड होप. वहाँ से फिर ऊपर चल के आपके पास आएगा. सो इट्स अ मेजर carbon footprint to bring all that lithium from lithium triangle to the Indian subcontinent. वो एक प्रॉब्लम है. ऑस्ट्रेलिया से अगर लाना है तो ऑस्ट्रेलिया में हमारा दायित्व बनता है कि ऑस्ट्रेलियन जो एबोरिजिन्स है, वहाँ के जो नेटिव्स है, उनकी जो ज़मीनें हैं वहाँ पे हमें खनन नहीं करना है. जो खनन अवॉइड हो सकता है, इफ़ वी इवेंचुअली बिगिन आवर सोडियम आयन और पोटेशियम आयन बैटरीज, तब तक हमें रोक के रखना है उस खनन को. और हाल फिलहाल में हमें ये भी जान पड़ा है कि कश्मीर में, जम्मू में रियासी जो जिला है, वहाँ पे वी हैव फाउंड नियरली 6 मिलियन टन्स ऑफ लिथियम डिपॉजिट्स. अब अगर वैसे प्रांतों में अगर खनन होना शुरू हो जाए which is considered to be the third pole of the planet, तो सोचिए क्या होगा. बिकॉज उस प्रांत से कई सारी नदियां निकलती है जो पंजाब को पानी देती है, जो हिमाचल में पानी लाती है, दक्षिणी जिलों में जैसे राजस्थान में पानी आ जाता है वहां से. So we are actually spoiling the lands. We are acidifying the lands by lithium mining in these sort of areas. So we'll have to be very careful with it. अब हम ये नहीं कह सकते कि हम मैन्युफैक्चरिंग बंद कर दें. अब हम ये नहीं कह सकते कि हम इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग को यहाँ पे ज़्यादा महत्व ना दें. हम ये कह सकते हैं कि हम रिस्पॉन्सिबल यूज़ बढ़ाएं. तो ये हम सबके हाथ में है कि हम अपने मोबाइल फोन्स या फिर जो भी डिवाइसेस जिसमें लिथियम आयन बैटरी जाती है उसको बड़े केयरफुली इस्तेमाल करें, ध्यानपूर्वक इस्तेमाल करें और ये प्रैक्टिस को दुनिया भर में प्रचलित करें. तो C20 के माध्यम से मेरा एक ही रिकमेंडेशन है कि मोबाइल फोन 5 साल से ऊपर इस्तेमाल करने की कोशिश करें. थैंक यू.
Thank you so much, sir. So, moving on to our next speaker, Dr. Ajayan. He was born and brought up in the lineage of Agastya Marma practicing family, and he has trained in the traditional Gurukulam for Agastya Marma Shastra and Kalari. Dr. Ajayan is currently working as the president of the Center for Indian Medical Heritage at AVP Medicinal Plant Garden in Palakkad, Kerala.
Respected great gurus, scholars, and great souls that's present here. So I am in front of you to share the informations that are available and shared by our gurus regarding the sustainable balancing of environment and its conservation, sustainable utilization of food, and sustainable utilization of medicine. So with all your permission, we can go through that. Om Guruve Namah. Om Sadguruve Namah. Om Prapancha Shaktyaya Namah. Dears, if you are seeing, the most basic thing that essential for our life is air, Vayu. So if you see that in the present situation, even we are not getting the good Vayu. The pollution is so much and we are losing the air quality. And most of the polluted cities are in India itself. And we are in the 8th position of the polluted things. Like that, if you see, the WHO is telling that 7 million deaths per year is due to air pollution. It is not to any epidemics or other things. Only due to air pollution it is taking place. And it is affecting our heart, lungs, and brain. And like that, if you are seeing our children's 5,43,000 children below 5 years are born with problems with the air pollutions. So our new generations are coming with the pollutions problem that created by us. So it's a very serious matter that we have to look. The basic thing how we can change. Our history and our culture is telling about this. If you see our Vedas, even it is telling that Trini Chandamsi Kavayo Vitere, Purubhadarshram Vishwachashnam Apovada Aushadaya. So the whole earth is covered with the plants, water, and all the things. If you pray and give the respect, then it is possible. And we are the only culture that given the importance to all the matters that is present in the earth in the name of gods. We have the gods in the name of earth matters, physical matters. We have the incarnation of birds, animals, and all the creatures in the name of the God. It's a great morality what our culture has given to the world, that respect everything. And if you come to our Ayurveda, our Acharya Punarvasu Atreya is telling that if air is good, then the proper equilibrium of the earth will maintained. If air is become deranged, the equilibrium will lose. Srishti Mekhanam, if you want a proper clouds, proper raining, this is needed. So now we are speaking about the global warming and cloud bursting and other things because of these problems. And raining properly is needed that. Demarcations of seasons needs air. Growth of the plants. Utpidanam cha utpidanam. So if a seed has to germinate, the proper air is needed. Otherwise the seeds will not germinate. A flower has to bloom, the proper air is needed. If that is there, it will happen. So then the strengthening of the seeds, if you want to strengthen of a seed, a plant, that also depend upon air. And if air loses, Ajaray is telling that you will suffer with the Shirorogam, you will suffer with respiratory rogas like Kasa, Shwasa, Shaya, everything will come. So we have to look into that. What is the solution? So now the scientists are telling about the air quality index has to be raised. So above the 100, the permeable limit will be lower, then the air quality index will be poor. So how we can change it? So the solution that they are telling this economically viable solution is depending on the plants through phytoremediation, a new term they has coined. So phytoremediation is telling means using the plants, we can absorb the unwanted materials or the excessive things like arsenic, lead or some potential unwanted things that is in the earth, water or everywhere that can be absorbed through the plants and it can be converted into some other things. So these models are known by our acharyas and they created certain models that will be very essential for that. That you can call it as a Ayurvedic Paryavaran Ayurveda, or you can call it as an Indic Ayurvedic way of assessing all these things to conserve the nature and to conserve the biophysical environment with the biological interactions. There are two set of things are there. That is the physical matters that existing in the earth, balancing of the biological matters, proper conversions of the physical matters like Prithvi, Teja, Vayu, Agasha in the earth to a biological matter through the plants and the animals. So if you make a balance of the animal kingdom and plant kingdom along with the sustainable utilization of all these things, then only our blue planet earth can sustain on this area. So we have an examples. So we have a very beautiful photos here you can see. This is from the interior of the Coimbatore area and this is belonging to more than 1000 years back, like that they are telling the old of the age of that plant. Why they are preserved this plant? In any part of the India, we can see that in the middle of a village or in the front of a temple, we have this plant. Is it simply so without some religious belief or something like that it is there planted? If you go through that, we can see that this is one of the photo of this. There will be a buttressed root system will be there, like this tagling root system. Under the ground, there will be a fibrous big root system is there. It is spreading nearly more than 501 meter like that. So even if there is there, such a type of root system can store the water. When the rain will comes, the water will be stored at there. So that water will be stored in two ways. One is this buttressed root system will store, along with that a fibrous root system which will decay 3 or 5 years. So that decayed root system will absorb the water and store it, and just like a sponge it will give out the water for 365 days of a year. So the groundwater system of that particular circle will be maintained. And you know that there will be an upper canopy will be there. This upper canopy will provide a shade and a coolness on the lower part so that there will be a micro world will be occurring. A proper world of biological things with bacterial and all these things. That is very essential for the field and the fertilizations. So the ideal health of the land will be maintained by that. Then you see that the trunk of the it will be having a sustainability. It will give rise to a very big canopy, holding a big canopy just like an umbrella hand. And it's the shelter for small creatures like lizards and other amphibians like that. And in the upper canopy, we have plenty of leaves that helps to prevent the excessive blowing of the dirty winds that is coming, and it will give rise to good oxygen and all the levels. And these types of plants are having numerous fruits. So you are seeing the cross section of one of the fruit. Actually, it is not the fruit. It is a collection of flowers that will be in a receptacle. So our acharyas are used to Anda Pushpa Phala. Before botany peoples are telling this is not the fruit, we have a reference that Anda Pushpa Phala. So that the only a specific wasp can enter into this. Each tree has a specific wasp. That wasp only can enter into this and do the fertilizations. And when the fruit will be ripened. So many birds will come from the different area to take that fruit. So the birds will bring out so many seeds to that particular area, so that there will be a very good ecology will be maintained. So nowadays scientists are telling that this is the key species that if you want to produce a forest in some area, keystone species. That's why we have a quotation that Mulado Brahma Rubaya, Madhyamo Vishnu Rupana, Agrado Shiva Rubaya, Vriksharajo Namastude. So the Brahma, the life that is sustained is in that earth. And the Vishnu is the holding everything. And the Shiva is through the air that's happening. So these are having a very great value in our culture. So whenever you have an opportunity to preserve this is very important. Nowadays, what happening means, unfortunately, the peoples are cutting and making it into a concrete shed or something to convert it. It is not the way that our culture and these things are maintained. And we have an economic analysis also. If you see the Vriksha Ayurvedam, this is the quotation is given. Here also it is kept. Dasha Kupa Samavabi. So it's equal to Dasha Kupa. 10 wells are equal to 1 Jalashaya, and 10 Jalashayas are equal to big a water conservation unit, and 10 water conservation unit is equal to 1 Putra, and Dasha Putras, 10 Putras is equal to 1 tree. So just 1 year back, our Supreme Court has told that a tree will having 7 lakh 54,000 value is there. 1 year you has to multiply it. So more than that, I am thinking that the plants are producing like that one tree. Like that, we have plenty of model. Another model that is mentioned in the Vrikshayurveda, you see Ashwadhamekam, Pichumandamekam, Negrodhamekam. The three things, Ashwadha, Nimba and Negrodha, if one you are planting, that will help in the environmental protection. Then Chinja, Tamarindus, Kabitha, Limonia, Billo, Egal Marmulus, Amalaki, that Phyllanthus emblica, Amra, mango, and Narigela, coconut tree. If someone is planting like this, Naragam Nayadi, he will not go to the Naraga. It indicates that the Naraga is not somewhere here itself. 3 environmental protection plant, the other plants which will be yielding the fruits, and the same time they are the medicines. So environmental conservation, food conservations, and medicinal conservations. Not only like that. If such type of plants is there, then that will be giving shelter to the butterflies, birds, animals, and so many creatures that are surrounding. What is happening nowadays? We are bringing so many exotic plants from the outside, and with so many spending monies, we are doing a social forestry. So that plants can't be eaten by the creatures that will be presenting here. That's why you see that in South India, everywhere the elephants are coming out, monkeys are coming out, because the food is not there inside. We cut off the kabittam from there, that itself led to these combinations. Kabitha is one of the plant which will yields the fruits, nutritive fruits, that is essential for that such type of big animals to quench their hunger and thirst, because that much nutritive value is there. Even in our slogas we can see Kabitha Palasara Vakshidam. Why? So such type of thing that will be useful for the humans. We are losing such type of things. And another examples, Nashatra Vriksha. What a beautiful concept. And Acharya is telling that, Raja Digandu, Narahari Acharya is telling that this is a pathadi that is came from the Agama. Ashwini Mahadevas are told this pathadi. So someone planting this Nashatra Vriksha in there, they will not suffer in their generations and the future generations to come. So Alakshmi Putra Galatanam. So that should not be hampered with any type of bad effects. These 27 trees are very important for the environmental conservations and for medicinal purposes. So by looking into all these aspects, how practically we can do. Even a person has having 65 square feet area, by selecting the plants according to the geographical situations. Maybe in the some of them are in the dry area, some of them are in the wet areas. We can select the plants from this. Accordingly, we can do a model gardens with the heritage trees. Actually, this is the thing we have to come up with. Not the Miyawaki like things or something like thing with exotic plants and garden plants. We have to make out these models. We have to select the plants from this and we can come to like that. So these types of models can apply anywhere in your places. So another thing is the sacred groves. These are the more advanced miniature of this. I'm not going to the detail of this. One example I will quote. Just 2 minutes. So I will take 2 minutes. So one example, this is a sacred grove in Kerala near to Thrissur. Why this sacred grove was constructed? If you see the trees, that are the Syzygium travancore trees, a small type of jambu variety, which is an edible fruit and medicinal. All these area is having that tree. That is an endemic tree. Only in the world, 300 trees, below 300 trees will be there. That is in these sacred groves. This is a freshwater ecosystem. Like that, we have a Mristika swamp ecosystems that will be conserved in the form of sacred Devavanas in our Karnataka area and in Tamil Nadu area also. Like that, these things also we have to come in. And another thing is the nutritious food. Now we are living in a globalization of food. We have to know that which food is good and which is ideal. Just our Ashdor sir has told that which is the ideal salt. We should know about that. So we have 6 tastes. So which taste you have to take daily? Sweet taste belonging to the ghee or the gouda has to be taken daily. Sour taste which is containing amla, which is having the takra or the amalaki has to be taken daily. Salt, that's the Saindava Lavana has to be taken. Pungent, ginger or pepper has to be taken, not the mirchis that what nowadays we are using. And then bitter, unknowingly we are using a bitter substance, that is the turmeric and the astringent, the anyaka and jeeraga like this. So if you combine this 6 taste, that is the caloric value of a food. So that's why Acharya is told that Sarvarasa Abhyaso Arogya Karanam. So if you want to do a very good life, you have to take the 6 taste in the balancing way, not the balancing of the vitamin or calorie like that. Because our intestine is made us like that. So we have some medical care also. This is a temple in Kerala. It is called as Tiruvizha temple because Shiva temple. Where you go, there will be giving a medicine. This is the medicine that in the early morning they will go to for a vomisis. So if someone has some appetite is lost and some skin disease is there, they want to clear out the upper part. So they will give this medicine and do a vomiting. So the unwanted things will be gone. The kapha will be gone out and the patient will cure. So we have so many rituals like that. Some temple we have castor oil is giving on the night so that we will get a evacuation of the bowels in the proper way. Like that we have, this is from the Kollimala area in Tamil Nadu. When you do a pilgrimage, after that they will come, they will give a soup called Attukal soup. It is not a non-vegetarian soup. It is a plant-based soup. So that soup will help to regenerate your things what it is lost by when you are doing walking, because between the joints we will lose some frictions and other things. So to reconstruct that, this will be there. So that is a regimen to make your bones and the things. Nowadays it's becoming a very good medicine for different types of arthritic conditions. And another example is treating the disease when it is coming. More than that, prevention is there. So we have a cultural regimen of preventions. So in our area, South India, there will be a heavy rain, then there will be surely a fever pandemic. So before starting that rainy season, the peoples of the, especially on the Udupi and Mangalore areas and Kasaragod area, they will take the decoction of the Saptaparna. The bark will be taken out and that Saptavarna decoction will be taken. So that the next rainy season, they will not suffer with malarial fever. This Saptavarna helps to clear out our liver and all the things so that the fever will not occur. Like that, we have a Janapada Arogya also. So it's not about the medicines or food also. We need certain mental support and care. So this is a photo from the Attapadi, the interior of the tribal areas. So there, what they will, per month, everyone gathered together and they will go there and there they will prepare the food and do pujas also. That will be becoming a looseness of their mind and tensions. So such things we have to bring back. And that's why our Acharya has told that, especially the great Agastya Muni has told that, Parappa Degatil Mannamundu Parijanudan Jalavumundu. So in your body, all the physical entity like Pratyap, Teja, all will be there in your body. Chirappa, Agasha Vayu and Agashamundu. Chittiyulla Ardalam Vedamundu. If you see that, in the body, you have 6 houses. 6 storage houses will be there. Nerappa Patranam Moonamundu. In your body, 3 important cities are there. One is the Kapasthanam, another is the Pitta city, and another is the Vada city. Nagishchi Petta Arum Kulavumundu. In your body, you have rivers and ponds. So there will be a circulating system and a receiving system like a heart and other things. Verodu vrikshamundu vilakkumundu. In your body, you have a spinal cord and the nerves. It will be just like a trees and its root. Vendidorku pushpamadu valakpuvadumundu. So if someone want to highlight it, you are lightening. In your body, you go with your psychological things and practice of pranayama and yoga. You can blow up anything. So that is the greatness of our things. What the things that is coming external that we can see inside is, that is the true wisdom that our Acharyas are told. And if you want to do that sustainably, we have to take it as our Mahatma Gandhi told, and in the Vedas it is told. So thanking all of you, and especially thankful all of you to provide me an opportunity to share in this platform. Thank you. Thank you, Ani.
Thank you so much, sir. So our next speaker is Shri Aravindan Neelakandan ji. He's the author of the recently launched best-selling book Hindutva, Origin, Evolution and Future, and he's also the co-author of the bestseller book Breaking India.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Essentially, this talk is about evolution. Evolution, as discovered by the process of evolution, as discovered by Charles Darwin. We have to understand that the concept of evolution has been there even before Darwin, in the West as well as in the East. For example, Darwin's own grandfather, Erasmus Darwin, was an evolutionist. But evolution was more in the area of speculation. It was more kind of a fanciful imagination. Nobody could provide actually a particular process through which evolution was happening. And in 1831, Charles Darwin got into HMS Beagle as a naturalist, a kind of amateur naturalist. He had been a medical student and he dropped out. He had been a theological student, he dropped out. And this particular HMS Beagle, they wanted a naturalist without pay. No salary, you can be a naturalist. And you should also conduct Sunday masses for the sailors. So Darwin, being a theology student and also a kind of an amateur naturalist, he got the job. And he went. When he got into HMS Beagle, he was a believer. In 1836, HMS Beagle came back. And when he was getting out, he was not a believer anymore. We have to understand that there is a concept called natural theology in the West. According to natural theology, God created the world like an engineer creates the world, the architecture, or a watchmaker, that would be a better example, a watchmaker creates a watch. So when you go through the mechanisms of the watch, you will understand that there has been a watchmaker. So the entire world, particularly the biological things, when you go into the biological thing, for example, you take a leaf and you see how the leaf works and you find chlorophyll and you see how beautifully the chlorophyll molecule has been constructed, or you take hemoglobin, how beautifully the hemoglobin molecule has been constructed. You take the way the eye works, how beautifully it has been arranged. Then all this actually proclaim the greatness of the creator. And hence, why should you study biology? You would study biology or you would study physiology or anatomy to understand this particular grandeur of the creator that is there in this life forms. Now, natural theology was the presiding doctrine, and Charles Darwin went, he studied different flora and fauna. He studied particularly Darwin's finches. Now they are called Darwin's finches, the finches in Galapagos Island, how their beaks are adapted to the particular way in which they have been taking their food. So he understood there is a kind of dynamic relation between the way modifications happen in organisms and the environment around. And that negated the concept of the watchmaker. There is no watchmaker or the watchmaker is blind. Later, Richard Dawkins would write a book called Blind Watchmaker. So in 1836, he came and he was working on this particular idea. And he worked on it for more than almost 20 years. He was very hesitant to publish this particular book. At that time, Wallace, who went to another one place and he came back and he told, he was arriving at the same process. He was identifying this particular process that Darwin had identified. And then Darwin realized that we should publish this, and then he published it, The Origin of Species. and it became a really great bestseller. All the copies were sold, and it created a storm. Because, in a way, as Thomas Huxley put it to Darwin, sir, you have killed the God. So, the God was eliminated. Natural process was creating all these life forms. And what is this natural process that has been creating all this life form? Darwin identified one particular important process called natural selection. Now, what does natural selection actually mean? Unfortunately, we have this particular concept called survival of the fittest. Those were not the words of Darwin, those were the words of Herbert Spencer. But Darwin later used that word. But when he told survival of the fittest, he didn't mean survival of the strongest or the physically strong species or the most violent species. Fittest here means that which adapts fast to the environment. That which adapts fast to the environment, that is the fittest, and that will survive. Now, what Darwin identified was this process called natural selection. A philosopher called Daniel Dennett, he tells that this particular process is an algorithmic process. In the sense, it is an universal process. Wherever you have self-replicating units and wherever you have variations, and then there will be evolution naturally. There will be a natural selection. And hence it can happen not only in organisms in the earth, in carbon-based organisms, it can also happen in Andromeda galaxy. But silicon-based organisms also it can happen. So it is independent of the particular substance. This is a great discovery. It's a very important discovery. And many social theorists, including Karl Marx, wanted to co-opt this. One particular deviant form of Darwinian evolution is social Darwinism, which is a pseudoscience. And another one aspect is when Karl Marx wanted to put Charles Darwin's natural selection into the Marxist framework, it didn't work out. So he said that Charles Darwin was only an English aristocrat, and so we should not worry about natural selection, and he rejected it. But what is the civilizational advantage that evolution brings us as an entire humanity and also a sentience that we have to look into? One thing is that it disabuses the human mind of the notion that humans are the top of the pyramid of creation. They are just a web of life, and they are one of the branches of the phylogenetic tree. It establishes this very clearly. Second, there is an evolutionary scientist. Her name is Elizabeth Socrates, and she's a Greek, so I have a problem with the pronunciation. She divides all the world religions into two. One is allopoietic religions and autopoietic religions, or we can say allopoietic civilizations, autopoietic civilizations. In allopoietic civilizations, what happens is that there is an external creator, the watchmaker. In autopoietic religions, autopoietic civilizations, what happens is that there are internal divinities. So when Krishna says that he is the seed, there is a difference between the seed and the watch. For the watch, you have to have an external architect. For the seed, it will grow from within and it will expand. So, when Darwin proposed natural selection, what happened was a profound civilizational shift. There was a scientist called J.B.S. Haldane. He was a Marxist and he was also a polymath. He was an evolutionist, biochemist, physiologist, mathematician. And he made a very beautiful statement. He said that when actually Charles Darwin discovered natural selection, unknowingly he converted the entire West to Hinduism. Unknowingly he converted the entire West to Hinduism. His wife was also Helen Haldane. His wife was also a biologist, and she said that in the entire evolution you have Saivite and Vaishnavite components of evolution. The Vaishnavite component of evolution, it preserves whatever the evolution has created for a particular period of time. For example, there is a species and that species is adapted to that particular environment, then it is preserved. That preservation part of that particular process is the Vaishnavite component of evolution, then there is always a mutation in the species or change in the environment, and then there is destruction of the species or extinction of the species and new species come up. There is a destruction and regeneration that she told us the Saivite component of evolution. Now, what we have to understand here is that evolution destroys the difference between the different species. It destroys the difference between humans and non-human species. There is a continuity. Charles Darwin extended this also to plants. So he said that plants should be having some kind of rudimentary mind. He extended evolution to mind. And he said that plants should be having some kind of cognition, rudimentary cognition, and he was searching for it. And he thought, very interestingly, that the root tips, they behave like neurons. And he wanted to show how plants respond to the different stimuli. He couldn't do that in his lifetime, and his son Francis Darwin was actually a biologist, and when Jagadish Chandra Bose was a student in England, Francis Darwin was one of his teachers. Later, when Jagadish Chandra Bose demonstrated the electric responses of the plants to different stimuli, the physiologists there were not able to understand it because they were not having a Darwinian framework. And remember, the Darwinian framework is also very close to an Advaitic framework. And if you look at Indian knowledge systems, the 6 darshanas, the Sankhya darshana forms the basis also for yoga and Vedanta. And it is essentially an evolutionary darshana. And that is the reason why in India we have never had problem with evolution. If you go through a particular movie called Inherit the Wind, you will see the kind of tension that was there in teaching evolution. Evolution was not allowed to be taught in many of the schools in United States. Even now I think there are restrictions, or you have to also teach some nonsense called intelligent design. So these are the different aspects. That one thing that we have to understand is that evolution confers upon us a civilizational advantage in understanding science. And it also makes us humble before the nature. And thus it gives us an ecological understanding. If you look at all important ecological scientists who came up, for example, Rachel Carson, they were all evolutionists. Jane Goodall, who actually understood the very intelligent nature of chimpanzees and found out that they were able to make tools. She was an evolutionist. She is a Darwinian evolutionist. So this Darwinian evolution actually promotes a value of compassion. And it also is important. The natural selection is important for all the disciplines that we have, whether it is aesthetics, literature, religion. You should have a Darwinian understanding of everything, from literature to economics. There should be a Darwinian understanding. For example, we are going to have a talk about building technologies. A Quaker missionary came to India and became a follower of Gandhi. His name was Laurie Baker. He discovered that India has a lot of variety of building technologies that were based on the particular raw materials available. In those particular locations and very suitable for those areas. So Laurie Baker understood this. There is a technological diversity in construction technology, diversity in India that is adapted to a particular environment. And that particular technology that is adapted to that environment based on the raw materials and the climate gets naturally selected in that particular region. When you impose a monoculture like concrete, then it actually destroys the livelihood. So if you have a Darwinian understanding of this kind of social issues also, it will be very useful. Now said all this, we come to the recommendations part. One aspect is that evolution should be taught not as part of biology curriculum. It should be there in the biology curriculum also. There should be a separate subject. It should be a separate subject, evolution. Starting from the primary schools, the child should be made aware that the environment around him or her is not static, it is dynamic, it is evolving. Understanding this will be very useful for the child to understand the concepts of ecology. February 12 is the Darwin's Day. It is celebrated all over the world by people, evolutionists. India can be the first nation which the heads of the state wish people and scientists on Darwin's Day. Because Darwin is, whenever we tell genius, we always think of Albert Einstein. Actually, Darwin should be equated with Albert Einstein with regard to the discovery of evolution. And thirdly, a person who actually validated Charles Darwin ahead of his time was J.C. Bose. It was on May 13, if my memory serves right, May 13, 1901, Jagadish Chandra Bose demonstrated the responses of plants in the Linnean Society, which was the same society where Charles Darwin also presented his paper on origin of species. So that particular day should be celebrated by the Indian government as Bose Day, when we transcended the barriers that differentiate us between plants and animals and even inanimate objects, So this is a great validation of Indic wisdom by modern science. And it is also a civilizational advantage. We should not squander it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Due to paucity of time, we will not have the open discussion. There would be a lunch break. I request the volunteers to guide our experts um, to the MBA hall where the lunch has been arranged. And the fifth session will begin at 2:15. See you there. Namaste.